here and clear, and I think we're good to go. I'm excited. I'm anxious to hear what people are wanting to know about and anxious to share some information that we've been talking about, because we've had some pretty interesting situations lately.
We really have. I'm excited to jump into it too. If you happen to not be listening to this while it's live, this is a live podcast, which we're excited about. We've got a lot of great feedback. We have a couple hundred people signed up for this, which is wonderful. And one of the reasons Tammy and I wanted to do more of the live podcast and work with us, give us some good comments and feedback. We really would appreciate it. What do you like? What things can we improve? Our goal, again, is to help transform the federal employees' retirement. We're going to talk about some misinformation that is so costly and so painful to federal employees, and we don't want you in that camp. We want you to know your benefits, to understand your benefits, and to make a transition to the next chapter of your life and not to have to worry. It says, oh crap, OPM canceled my health insurance. Oh no, yeah, we're about to talk about how that story is going down right now, right? We want you to sail into retirement with joy and excitement, not fear of the unknown. So give us some feedback, what you like about the pod. Share this message. Let's get it out there. Again, a big goal of helping another 1 million federal employees with their retirements. So pretty excited about that. Tammy, anything else you want to add in on there?
No, I think that that old saying goes, expect the best and prepare for the worst. It really applies to retirement planning, especially during this period of transition when we're putting in our application, filling out the paperwork, and keeping our fingers crossed that everything goes smoothly. But there are things we can do. There are things we can do to make sure that we have as smooth of a transition as possible.
Amen. All right. So Tammy, let's kind of jump into this just a little bit and let's kind of go through some of the issues we see. I know the big thing we wanted to talk about was securing your retirement with TSP, right? Boy, what does that even mean? That's a big topic and we're not going to be able to get to it all, but we wanted to give you some good highlights of things to think about. But Tammy and I were talking kind of pre-game the podcast about some other things we're seeing coming down the pike with OPM, with HR, that I think, warrants us taking a little bit of time and chatting about that. And there's two kind of big issues we're running into right now. The first one, Tammy, if I had to encapsulate it, I would really say it's the misinformation, completely wrong information retirees are getting from HR that's causing irreparable damage to their retirement benefits. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, and I would even say inadequate information, because the rules for what we're about to talk about are not clear.
Yes.
And it proves to me they're not clear, because we've seen this time and time again. I've gone through at least 4 clients. I know you've dealt with this with several of your clients. So
That's right.
happening this frequently, it's not the client's fault. It's the fact that the instructions aren't clear. It's obvious. And so what are we talking about? What is this? We got everybody's bated breath. They're wanting to know, what can I do? What's happening?
All right, so a couple of things. We're going to talk about real quickly some things on the retirement application. Now, a lot of things on the retirement application, it's okay on, right? That there's some things we can fix on there. There's not irreversible decisions that you're making when you're filling it out, except there are some, and they're not called out any differently. And that's what's causing an issue. And so one thing that we're seeing with clients that choose to do a postponed retirement, which, Tammy, is a phenomenal benefit of federal employees. They get to have at least 10 years of federal service. They've met their MRA. They want to transition to something else, but they want to come back for that golden benefit you all have, which is that health insurance. They want to come back and tap into that health insurance and keep having the government pay for the vast majority of it for the rest of their life. And so there's a way you can file for a postponed retirement. And so you're delaying your benefits, then you're getting your pension, you're getting your health insurance turned back on, which is great. But if you make this one mistake, which is, again, confusing on the form, you're going to forego that benefit. And it has to do with putting the right date for when your benefits start. And the reason we're bringing this up is we're hearing, again, multiple cases. We got one with a client one of our advisors is working with. It's a $250,000 mistake, plus they're losing health insurance potentially because the wrong information was put in there. So Tammy, shed some light on what's going on there.
Yeah, so, and I never realized this problem until just recently, where it's been happening, because when I teach about postponed retirements in class, here's what I say. I'll say, okay, for those of you who are at your MRA, which for many of our listeners is 57 years old, who don't have 30 years of service, but they got more than 10, you have an opportunity to retire with an immediate retirement, which means you can have your health insurance for the rest of your life. The problem is when you have less than 30 years and more than 10, and you take that at age 57, you're facing a 25% age penalty. So this is where the postpone comes in. So if you got 20 years or more, you could postpone that application, meaning you're basically going to resign from your agency and you're on your own. Here's where the mistake problem comes, because now nobody's looking over your shoulder. Nobody's double checking what you're doing. You have this deferred postponed application to fill out. And if you have 20 years of service, but less than 30, you can file that application at age 60 and collect not only your retirement with no reduction, but you can reinstate your health insurance. So what date do you put on the application? And for those who have more than 10, but less than 20, now you got to wait till you're 62 to have no age reduction. But again, what date do you put on the application? Well, if you're going to do this at age 62, it's critical. It's absolutely critical that you make that effective date the month of your 62nd birthday, but before you turn 62. So if I'm 62 on November 15th, my effective date's going to be November 1st, not December 1st. Because if I put December 1st as my effective date, that is no longer a postponed retirement. That's now a deferred retirement. And as most people know, a deferred retirement does not convey health benefits.
Yes.
That was the whole idea of this retirement, was to have health insurance. And now just by putting a date that was 2 weeks to the wrong side of my birthday, I forfeited the benefit that I've worked so hard to get. And we're seeing this time and time again.
And Tammy, I'm going to say I understand the federal employee, because the entire time you're thinking about retirement, you are told your retirement begins the first of the following month after you retire, right? So in your mind, it's the first of the following month, but that's an immediate retirement. That's not a postponed retirement. And so you're in this mindset, which I get, right? And then you read the forms and the forms aren't clear on how to put a date. You're like, hey, the first of the following, it's really no big of a deal. I'll put it for the next month. You sign off on it, and you just gave away a massive, massive benefit.
Yes. Yeah. And it seems so far that there's very little recourse. That's the sad thing. This is where you were saying, Micah, that sometimes by putting one little thing wrong on that application, you're doing irreparable damage. So the only thing we can do at this point is to warn employees who are planning to do this very thing to read that instruction portion of that application 10 times before you put the date down. Make sure you understand what it's saying. Because to me, there should be a warning. There should be a big red flag saying, if you do this wrong, you're not going to have the ability to reinstate your health insurance. There is no such warning. They don't even link the entitlement to health insurance to the date. They just say, here's the date you want to put down. They don't say why it's so important. And so therefore you figure, okay, I'll pick a date. You know, I even see people that wait till they're 64, then they want to go back to 62 and claim the benefit. We can't do that. You have to do it right then and there. If you want to reinstate that health insurance, you cannot delay it.
So Tammy, I got a noodle baker for you here, and I'm sorry, I'm going to throw you on the spot on a live podcast here. And we're still figuring this out a little bit, dealing with OPM and the correction of this, because this is a relatively new issue and having to fix these things with